Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet, I ask you, is not an alien force already among us?
We must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist.
In my association with Project Group, they definitely withheld information.
The whole fleet of them look on the ASA. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots.
You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Do you believe that our government is in possession of UAPs?
Absolutely.
We have a lot going on. I thought to myself, how can we end season 1 of Total Disclosure before we break? Who would be the best guest? And I said to myself, let's go out and get Danny Sheehan. And I did. So Danny Sheehan is going to be the final guest of Total Disclosure season 1 before we go on break for a month and I finish the movie that we're working on that I just released a trailer on. We're doing really good on the audio side, everybody. But if you could like, share, subscribe on YouTube, that's where we really need the biggest boost in numbers and viewership. So I'm really excited to get the show started. We have a really good one for you. I'm totally botched the intro. Super upset about that. So I just kind of want to roll past it. Teresa, thank you for joining the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And we need to figure out a way to. I was trying to text you, but I'm sure you don't have your phone right.
Well, it's because I'm looking dead in the camera and I'm trying to get the gravitas, right, of not, being in the moment. And when I do my intros, I do them hard, and I go through them and I go, I even gave the date of disclosure during that one, and everyone missed it. So sorry to say.
I mean, it looks really good.
Well, anyway. So this is why I need a producer, and this is why I need to move in with Jess so she could be sitting here saying, "Hey, idiot, you have no sound." But again, we're not Jimmy Church Radio, and we don't have news producers and people that do sound checks for us. So, anyway, listen, we talked about a big story last time we were live. Jerusalem preparing for what seems to be return of a Messiah figure. You got a lot of feedback on that. Tell me about it.
I did. That was a very popular show. The last live show we did was about the red heifers in Jerusalem and how they're preparing for the return of their Messiah, who is not of this earth. So by definition, they're preparing for the arrival of somebody or something that is extraterrestrial by very definition. And we talked about by very definition. Yeah. And then we talked about the red heifers and how they have shipped to Jerusalem 3 perfect red heifers from Texas. They have been inspected like with a magnifying glass from nose.
Yeah, we literally had that picture. They had a magnifying glass to it.
Yeah, from nose to tail, they have checked to make sure there is not a single white or black hair on those cows. It's nothing but red hairs. They have to be absolutely perfect. And then then they sacrifice the heifers and then they purify with the ashes. Anyways, that's expected to happen by the end of spring in Jerusalem, and they're taking very real steps to prepare for the return of of an entity that is not of this earth. And so is that why the United States is talking about interdimensionals and non-human intelligence right now? Is that why this is an issue right now? It was a very popular show. I got a ton of feedback. Every time I logged into Twitter, I was invited to a new Twitter Spaces where somebody wanted to discuss, carry on the discussion. I think there are a lot of people who are very interested in that topic. I think a lot of people have kind of put it together. They've read whatever their religious text is. In this case, it was mostly the Bible. And, people have read their Bible and they've said, well, wait a minute, they are talking about sky people. That's what they're talking about here. And, what do we call sky people? We call them alien or extraterrestrial, or David Grush used the terminology interdimensional. We're talking about an intelligence from another place.
I want to ask you something. So the implications, the hard truth. Sorry, and I'm still getting over COVID, guys. So my voice my voice is already pretty deep and raspy, but it's even worse right now. So if this, because you and I have hypothesized many, many times about my theory that they know something's on its way, and the correlation between the two, I find uncanny, right? Just the way it's being set, the stage, the world stage is being set for something, some paradigm shift. What happens when these ships come down and instead of a long bearded white, because Jesus, I hate to tell all the Americans, Jesus was probably not white, probably looked more like Osama bin Laden if he was a real person, just by where he grew up and so he probably had darker skin, with the beard. So, but what if that guy doesn't show up? And what if an ET looking being comes down, descends, gets off the ship and says, I am your savior? Like, what are the implications of that? Do we look at it differently because it's not us? Or, you know what I mean? Are they going to shapeshift and look like us to make us feel better? And then, or are they going to send us some JPEGs of what they look like before they get here? That way we can open them and be prepared and, like Tinder, swipe left or right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a very good question. And,
I stole that from Jimmy Church, by the way. Just wanted to, the Tinder thing.
Credit.
Yeah.
Great material, Jimmy. Hey.
I love Jimmy, but he's got to chill with the Chumba Casino ad. Dude, it's the only ad that plays on his thing, and it's driving me insane.
Yeah,
Chumba Casino. It's like Chumba, 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 Chumba. And dude, I want to take my phone and because like I work early mornings, so when I hear that ad played 38 times in one podcast, like I want to throw the phone out the window. And I'm like, Jimmy, come on, let's mix it up here.
It sounds like it's an effective ad, right?
It's very effective. I know it. It's in my sleep.
Yeah, it's sticking with you. Yeah, so the implications of that are huge. I mean, I don't think people will say, well, this is our first contact. And I don't think that's the case. I think it's the first contact in our common memory. But I think that
thank you for subscribing.
They've been here. I think they've been here. I think they've been here before. And yeah, it is a weird ritual. I mean, it is. I mean, that's very somebody made the comment, what a weird ritual. Yeah, I mean, we're talking really Old Testament animal sacrifices here. And then, and then that begs the question, well, were we feeding them? Is that why you had to bring, I really think there's a very good argument to be made that these are human-like entities who ate food, and and just like we do, they had needs, and we would bring. That's why you would bring the best of all of your crops. You would bring the best of your animals. You would bring the best food that you had to the temple. And why would you do that unless they're eating? So
Right.
I think their needs are very similar to ours. They apparently eat food, that we do, and and we were feeding them. So I don't think this is the first time. I think there are a lot of times in history when we were living with them. They were living amongst us. So I don't think it's first contact. It's first contact in our modern memory. And I
Well,
think
Graham,
we have to
Graham,
really
Graham
back.
Hancock says it the best. We're a species with amnesia, right?
Yeah,
So
that
this
is
will, just like you said, this will be first contact for us in the modern day, and because we have amnesia, we don't know our origin story. We don't know that they've probably been here the whole time, like you said. And that, I know we're going to talk about Avilobe and dimensions and all that, but I find it to be a much more, but it would be, what would be more surprising, that they're coming here from a different star system, galaxy, universe, or would it be weirder if they were coming from here, under our oceans, right under our noses,
right. Yeah.
or
Well, I think
occupying the
both.
same space without us knowing?
I think both are very possible. I mean, I think there's a lot of good evidence to make the argument that they had bases here, and possibly even on the moon and Mars and other planets. So it would make sense that they would have a base here. So it could be both. It could be that they originate someplace very far away, and then they have bases here. And just like we send our military out, somewhere, they would send a team out, and they would develop a base and do have all of the necessities locally that they needed. I think there's a lot of good evidence for that. And if you look at a lot of the origin stories and mythological stories, it seems to indicate that also. So I think both are possible.
And equally, revolutionary. No matter what, it's gonna be a wild day. That's for sure. But I wanted to talk. So we just went through a solar eclipse. I think everybody knows this, right? I live streamed it the best I could. Definitely could have done much better. But I was not prepared. I did not know what to expect. First time ever doing something like that. So now I know. You can't do it without a like a legitimate like telephoto lens and special hardware. So anyway, the moon has been in a lot of people talking about the moon lately, right? It's just something that's been in conversation. The sun, the moon, yada yada. The moon, a lot of people think it's either hollow because it reverberated like a bell when we hit it with rockets, and we did this multiple times. Also, that only one fight that were stage locked. So what that means is we see it's perfectly oriented so that the moon rotates, or does it rotate, or does it stay locked in orbit? What I'm trying to say is we see the same side the whole time. We never see the backside. And then it's perfectly distanced away. It's perfectly sized to eclipse the sun. And a lot of people think that is much too